Hello, good evening, Dr. Setolu Tunyi and Dr. Preeti Kalra.
Good evening, ma'am.
Dr. Preeti, are you saying something? We couldn't hear.
Yes, I was just saying good evening. Am I audible, ma'am?
We still can't hear anything. Or is it on my side? Is there any problem here?
Ma'am, Preeti ma'am is audible.
I think the problem might be from my end because I can't hear anyone.
Yes, I guess.
Okay, great. So you are all audible. Dr. Setolu, do you want to try doing the presentation now? Welcome, Dr. Preeti, to St. Aloysius virtually.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess Dr. Setolu is not here.
Something is wrong with my mic, so I will join with a phone.
Sure.
Dr. Setolu, do you want to try sharing?
Hello. Hello, ma'am. Am I audible to you? Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. The echo is removed now, no?
Yeah. Actually, I'm still in the village, and the power just got cut, so that's why I'm
Okay.
going for a while. Yeah.
If you don't mind, can you just raise the camera slightly because we can see the upper half of your head?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Am I
you. Thank you so much. Yes, now you are very visible. I hope you can work the presentation mode, no?
Okay. I'll just try with the presentation. Just wait me for a while.
Okay. Anyway, it's already time, so maybe we can do the presentation along with the talk.
So, shall we start, ma'am?
Yes. Okay. Nima, there will be an introduction.
So, a very warm good afternoon to all of you. And I would like to take a moment to wish each one a very happy new year. So, may this year be filled with fresh opportunities, growth, and some meaningful connections. So, this is our 8th lecture of the 4th season of Chrysalis. Myself, Miss Nima, will be your host for today's session. So, I warm welcome to all the esteemed guests of today's program, Professor Chako Jospi, Principal of our college, Professor Betsy Palsy, Director of Research, Dr. Tunyi, today's presenter, and Dr. Kirti Kalra, our moderator. And I welcome all the participants on behalf of Chrysalis team to today's talk. With all the blessings from the Almighty, we are here to enrich you with another informative session. Chrysalis provides a platform for researchers in English literature and in related domains to present their research and generate intellectual and productive deliberations. Chrysalis started its journey from the academic year 2021-22, which hosted 15 paper presentations and 4 invited lectures. Chrysalis 2 in the academic year 2022-23 and Chrysalis 3 2023-24 widened the scope and brought in participants from across the nation. This current academic year 2024-25, we are hosting Chrysalis 4th season, and we envision to deepen the impact and benefit as many scholars as possible. Chrysalis, in all its editions, commemorates the treasured contribution of eminent late teachers of the department, Reverend Father Anthony Kuttikat CMI, Dr. Danya Menon, and Professor Paul Davis. Today, we proudly invite our speaker, Dr. Setolu Tunyi. She is an assistant professor, Department of English at Northeastern Hill University, Shillong. Her doctorate from the University of Delhi was on the folklores of Chakhesang Nagas. She has published journal papers both in peer-reviewed and UGC care-listed journals and contributed many articles in book chapters. We are excited to have a unique topic for today's discussion. The Chakhesang Nagas are an indigenous ethnic group primarily residing in the northeastern part of India, predominantly in the state of Nagaland. They belong to a Naga tribe which is known for its rich cultural heritage, deep-rooted traditions, and distinct way of life. Dr. Setolu has made an effort to enter this geographically restricted area for outsiders for her research, and we believe she shall be able to share the experience and knowledge she has gathered there. So I wholeheartedly welcome you, ma'am, to Chrysalis program and to St. Aloysius College. We are also excited to have Dr. Preeti Kalra, the moderator for today's session. She is an assistant professor, Department of English and Culture Studies, Christ deemed to be university. Her research interests include gender studies, Indian literature and performance studies. Dr. Kalra has taught various courses at IGNOU and Delhi University, including British literature, Indian classic literature and partition literature. She has presented papers at national and international conferences and published extensively in esteemed journals. On behalf of St. Aloysius, I proudly invite you to chair today's session on the topic Exploring the Interplay of Orature and Print, Oral Tradition of the Chakhesang Nagas. So I welcome Dr. Preeti Kalra, and now it's all yours, ma'am.
Thank you so much. At the outset, I would first of all want to congratulate on this successful journey of Chrysalis, and particularly the initiatives that you take in order to mark this remarkable journey, and the platform, creating a platform for the researchers in English literature and of course the related fields to present their work and foster meaningful intellectual discussions. And once again, as a moderator, I would again want to welcome all of you present here to this 8th lecture series. I'll say that as she has already introduced Dr. Setolu, so I don't think that she needs another introduction. I would just want to say that maybe after the session, we will have a dedicated question and answer segment. So please feel free to ask questions, and even in between, if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat group, and we'll take all the questions once we are done with the talk by the speaker, that is Dr. Setolu. So please join me in warmly welcome Dr. Setolu. We can start with her session. Over to you, Dr. Setolu.
Thank you, Preeti, for welcoming me, Dr. Preeti. She is none other my junior batch and also my colleagues in Delhi University as well. And I thank you for this crisis for giving me this opportunity to present my paper and my thoughts about my community and the research that I have personally done, the field work that I have done myself. And I also can see in the screen that my supervisor is also there, Professor P.C.8. I'm thankful for his presence in this lecture. I am very grateful to him. Because of him, I'm able to complete my research as well as complete my doctorate. And also, he was also one of the main pillar that has helped me to achieve for who I am today. So I'm thankful to my Professor P.C.8, my supervisor at the university as well. I hope I'm able to screen. I hope you can see the screen. Is it my PowerPoint? Is my PowerPoint visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Actually, I'm not sure whether it's reflected on your side or not. But as I change the slide, I'm not able to see the. I mean, whether you are able to see the change as I change the slide. Is it?
No. Right now we can just see the main page. That is the title page.
Okay. So.
And we can see the cursor moving.
So. Okay, yeah, I'm actually put it on the full screen, but then it's I can also see from the other side that it's not highlighting the full screen, but just the part of the paper, the first page.
Okay. Can you share from the Google Drive?
Ma'am, actually, I tried to do that, and it's I'm not able to present it in the Google Drive as well.
Maybe you can just click on the second page. We'll check if it is visible or not without putting it on us. I guess because it is not uploaded, that is why, yeah, you have to save it first, and that is when you can have the slideshow.
Or else, can you please share the PPT to me? I will
Is it
share
possible?
I'll just
Yes,
check.
we'll just share it through WhatsApp.
Ma'am, I have already shared my PPT through WhatsApp, to your WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't get it.
I have sent you through your WhatsApp.
Okay. I haven't yet received it, but can you start talking and then maybe I'll get it.
Yeah.
I haven't yet received it.
Okay, in the meantime, I'll just go ahead with them.
Mm-hmm. Just reshare it once and then please start the talk.
Okay, all right, all right. Probably it's because of the network. I think it's still sending. So I think I'll just go ahead. And in the meantime, I think
Please go ahead.
to you. Okay. Yeah, I want to also present the title on this: exploring the interplay of orature and print oral tradition of, particularly of the Chakhesang Nagas. That is my community. So when we talk about who are the Nagas or who are the Chakhesang Nagas, they are formerly known as the Eastern Angami, and they are considered as one of the 16 communities living in Nagaland under the district headquarters of Pek. So the community, within this Chakhesang Nagas community, we have different language speakers. The major language speakers are Chokri, Kheja, or also known as Khuja, Sapu, and also known as Pumai. So these the three major language speakers, we come together and we are known as the Chakhesang Nagas. Knowing that we have different speakers and we have different languages, so we also observe the different language communities festivals. Like for the Chakri, we celebrate the Sakrini festivals, and for the Khuja or the Kheja speakers, they celebrate the Sakrini festivals. And again, we have another called Sapu or Pome or Pola speakers who celebrates the Tunyi. So different speakers with different languages we have. So we celebrate different festivals accordingly as well. So when we come to the oral traditions, now we have make a transitional phase within the community. So within this transitional phase, I have done my research on, I have read on the pre-Christian era to the Christian era, how the oral tradition have changed. And then it comes to the influence of the westernization, the Indianization, and then comes to the modern technologies, the influences, and how it has changed the oral tradition or the orature of the Chakhesang Nagas has changed, and also it is still surviving along with the print. And this is why I call this a residual orature, where we have already crossed the primary orality, where we have there is an interplay between the residual orature, where there is a we are dependent on the literary, as well as we also still have a very strong inclination, and we also immensely depend on the orality as well. So I call this the transitional phase of, and now we are in a residual orature. And when it comes to oral tradition, we talk about this oral tradition as the identity of the community. I call this the identity of the community because oral tradition, especially in the context of the Chakhesang Nagas, it cannot be differentiated entirely between culture and traditional practices of the community. Because the oral community of the tradition or the community originates from the life of the people and the culture. So in a way, the culture defines oral tradition, and simultaneously the oral tradition also defines the culture. So when it comes to the oral tradition of the community or the culture of the community, it is difficult to separate these two. And like I have been mentioning, we still depends on the oral tradition or the orature at large. And with this, I also, as we go through the research, as we go through the paper, I also want to focus on how the oral community or the oral tradition identify itself, the community of the Chakhesang orality identify itself from the rest of the world, or how does folklore or the oral tradition and culture define each other. I also want to also look on how the oral tradition survives in the transitional process and it is still accepted by the community. And as we go through the oral tradition in the context of the theoretical context of the world, we define it as a word, the oral tradition that is being passed, or the oral narratives that is being passed by word of mouth from one generation to the next generation. And not only that, the practices or that is still in continuous process. So that we call that an oral tradition. And it is undeniably the fact that one cannot call something that is just being invented or practiced as oral tradition. It needs time. It needs to travel down through the endless generations, from one generation to generations, and also it has to be practiced by the people as well. I quote the tradition that's been given, oral tradition that has been defined by David R.C. Rubin in his book Memory in Oral Tradition, the Cognitive Psychology of Epic Ballads and Counting Out Rhymes. In his book, he has defined oral tradition as oral traditions are universal. They are fixed only when the accuracy of human of memory, and it exists in different genres. Also, they are transmitted in a special social situation. That's what he has defined oral narration or oral traditions, that and he also have considered that as oral tradition as a special speech, either through art or ritual, and that can be transmitted through cultural information or through rhymes or sound that are sound or that are narratives and are high in imagery, both special and descriptives, unquote. When we talk about this, talking about the world's perspective, I also want to give a brief of oral tradition within the nomenclature of the community of the Chakhesang. So we have the community history is based on oral tradition, and they trace back to the migrations and especially to the migrations and settlements of their ancestors through oral traditions that was passed by mouth from generations to the next generations. And in the context of the Chakhesang community, oral tradition is more than folk songs and folk tales, or that is more than entertainment that is being transmitted by word of mouth. And it covers all the social customs, the traditions, the religions, and especially the history of the people. So oral tradition has evolved the knowledge system of the community by incorporating imaginations and creativity within reality, art, and history. So it helps the community in continuance with the world from his origin. So when we talk about the history of the Chakhesang, we are inclined or we are bound to oral tradition on and off again and again, because we don't have prior to the visit or to the coming of the American Baptist missionaries and the British administrator, we don't have our written script. So this is why we are bound to oral tradition, we are bound to oral narratives, and that is how we preserve or we record our community's past histories as well as the traditions. So the folk songs like folk songs, folk tales, myths, proverbs defines the identity of the people, and it reconstructs or also construct their present from the past. The oral traditions gives people an insight of the primitive society, as well as it also links the primitive society to the present. The oral tradition, in the context of the Naga, is a process by which the folktales, myth, folk songs, and the lore of the people are being told, communicated, and transmitted. According to one of the Naga writers, in his essay, which he has written in one of the quarterly journals in Indian folk life, he has given about the oral tradition, saying that any oral narratives of traditional history, origin and migration of the traditional history, or origin and migration of the people, that includes tribe, clan, individual, etc., formation of the village, events of war, peace, festivals, and so on, are transmitted by word of mouth from one generation to another generations through songs, poetry, ballads, prayers, sayings, stories, and tales or public orations within situation demands. So the identity crisis in the present modern world has led to trace back to their past, although the oral tradition of the past cannot give much evidence or facts to the people. So the condition of the people and the functioning of the society are being constructed by oral traditions that has been handed down from one generation to another generations. And when we talk about the traditions, we also have the traditions that we follow, especially the norms and the taboos and the genas that bind the people, and that people do not have a written record. But then they have revered and feared to go against any that falls against the gena. Here we call restriction of taboos or prohibited acts that observe within the society, that's called gena. So we focus on when we talk about this, as we transit, as we move forward, there is an interplay of oral tradition of the Chakhesang Nagas through folktales, festivals, genas, taboos, and religious practices. Also, it includes the material culture, megalithic culture, and also as well as the interplay between oral traditions and print, which includes both written and the media as well. The oral culture has almost replaced by a literate culture, which no doubt with the transition of time, although there still exists orality in some forms within the literate culture. For example, so we still have this, especially the folk composer, the folk singer, and the village elders still remains to be the primary keeper of the traditional knowledge and history of the community orature by passing them down to the next generation. Oral traditions of the Chakhesang Nagas is not only a mere storytelling or a source of people's history, social customs, religion, but it is more than that, which covers the knowledge system of the community, which incorporate reality with art and imagination. When we talk about print and orature, both shows how they give the impact to the community and in rebuilding and reconstructing. The oral traditions and print meet each other when people penned down and documented the oral tradition of the people, like through folk songs, folk tales. So this meeting point gives birth to a new kind of literature called folk literature or oral literature. Oral tradition also gives, when we talk about, Temsala Au talks about oral tradition, which she defines it, a definite identity to the people and delineate the culture and molded their character. At the same time, it gave the people a system of self-government most suited to the environment in which they live. So it all covers the system of the belief, code of conduct, and moral values of the people that are passed down through oral traditions. When we talk about the oral traditions of the community, especially the Chakhesang community, it is imperative, or it is not possible to miss out the migrations and settlement, because most of our past histories of our past, our identity and our culture are based on, started with migrations and settlement. So the history of the Chakhesang community is traced back with the migration and settlement in search of suitable place to start a village, or providence to eat and procreate. So every village has their own history, myth about their ancestors and their origins. Prior to the expeditions of the Ahom from Assam, the Nagas have already settled in the hills, which later came to be known as the Naga Hills. So the people were seen adventurous, and most of them agreed that they came across the Chinwin River and settled down where they are today. Due to lack of written record, what led them to mass migrations is not known or talked about. So the migration and settlement take place in order to find a better place, or their rivals have defeated them and occupied their land, or there might be some disturbances created by the mighty neighboring villages, or destruction of places by natural calamity. So probably there might be some of these reasons that may have caused the mass migrations to the parts of the world for a new beginning, a new life, or a safety of the people. So because of this, they have, when we talk about the migrations today, people have no knowledge about the factors that led to the ancestors to the mass migrations. But today, oral traditions that existed within the community portrays the community life that begins after crossing the Chinwin River, and the oral traditions that revolves around the people from the daily lives to their social lives. When talking about the migrations of the settlements, I also would like to give a narrative discourse of a village which I have documented, and also have personally done field work in a particular village of Kekrama village. So the origin is slated back to the time where there was a mass Mongolian migrations and in Central Asia. And the old man, which I have taken from the sources from him, he has narrated that our ancestors came to the other side of the world by crossing Chiwurur. The very word Chiwurur refers to Chinwin River now, from a wooden plank like a big trough, but big in size. After crossing to the other side of the river bank, they continued their journey alone with the others and halted in Mukrora, or presently known as Michael village, which is in Manipur. After crossing, and these people, why probably the people have similar oral stories like this is why man, tiger, and spirit folktales, and that when they were wandering and in search of a suitable place to start life, from one place to another and from one mountain to another, they finally came across to the present place where they have settled, the Kekrama village. And this, ma'am, if it's fine with you, can you please bring that to the first picture of the slide, the first picture. The next one, ma'am. And this is the one. So I would like to show this very photo which I have personally taken. So this, after they have settled after they have made the permanent settlement, this was the stone. They have this where there's narratives where they were asked, or they were being instructed by the spirit to carry this stone and place it in the current village where they have settled, in order to start a village. So this is the stone which they have brought from all the way from the place where they have migrated. So this is there in Chakhesang village. And coming next to we still have those traditions that still continues, or the practices that we still continue, especially when it comes to the oath taking, as well as to the gyanas and the prohibitions. So the Chakhesang community revered and mend their oaths, and the people believe that anybody who breaks or go against the oaths, then curses, were no better than living death befalls on them. So which have taken one of the incident which J.H. Hutond, the then DC, who was the deputy commissioner in Nagaland during those days, he has documented one of the Chakhesang village, precisely Chakhesang, where the owner, if any incident, any people or any thief have stolen any kind of animals or any kind of pets or anything, if they have stolen, what they do is they will ask him, or they will make him to they will take an oath and take that he has not stolen. So in case if he really have stolen, then if he have stolen, but if he refused to admit it, then he is being cursed. And the elders believe that with this curse, he will have the kind of omens, or he will have to suffer at the end of the day. He might meet some kind of unwanted or untoward incidents. So this kind of curses, the elder curses, after taking oath, it is a very a taboo thing. So the oath amongst the people was never taken for granted, and through it, the oath, the war, the treaty, or the peace treaty is undertaken. So to this very day, this kind of tradition is still continues in spite of the changes. We still practices this kind of traditions, taking oaths, and so the Chakhesang community still observes and celebrate the friendships or peace treaty undertaken by their ancestors with the different villages for friendship and peace. So although the people gave up all sorts of rituals that's being practiced by their ancestors, especially the religion, and now they have embraced Christianity, they still visit one village, this kind of treaty after taking oaths, the oath-taking treaty. Because of this, they still visit each other's village in times of festivals to strengthen their bond, and that was built down by their ancestors. Apart from the migration and settlement, I also want to talk about the megalithic tradition or the megalithic culture that I considered is the lore keeper or the story keeper of the community, because like I have been mentioning, we don't have the written records, so it is always the oral narration that comes down, and the megalithic culture or the megalithic tradition of the Chakhesang community plays one of the key roles when we talk about keeping the lore or the folk or the oral traditions of the community. So the Chakhesang community once lived in an age where stones were considered as an entitlement to uphold the status, just as crown gives entitlement to the king. And the specific period of how and when it has been started, or where the idea of using stones as a sign of entitlement in their social lives and memories of a dead person has started, we don't have much specific period of that, but the stones belonging from different generations have its link with the oral traditions of the society. And unlike the stones that are erected and scripted on it, there is no written script found on the stone erected among the Chakhesang community. And surprisingly, the stones are rough and always very in shape. Though this is the passage of time, the stone shape has changed due to weathered or natural forces. And J.P. Water, he is a researcher, and when he was doing his research in one of the village, in the Chakhesang village, Pugumi village, now presently known as Kikrama village. He pointed out that this local stone, these monoliths, which has been lying down for ages, they are known for their robustness, and they are unlike wood that rots. And in his personal experience and his personal field work, he also further asserted, saying that this very particular study of social lives of such stones can provide a window to the past, casting rays of light on history that has gone largely unreturned and undocumented, although not, of course, unremembered, as rich repertoire of oral history flourished from a Naga village to the next. So whenever one comes across any village of the Chakhesang community, one finds the stones erected outside the village boundaries, some in singles and some in 2 or 3, or some numbering to 9 as well. So these stones are, you will find some of the stones, some of the monoliths, some of the dolmens as erected for the death, some are kept for because of the magical stones, and some of them are dolmens, some of them are erected monoliths, some of them are placed because of the ritual purpose, some of them are still preserved because of the beliefs of the spiritual abodes. So the community were no stone worshippers, but in spite of being its inclination, linking its histories or its past to the stones or to the monoliths, the community are no stone worshippers, but they believe that some stones are said to be the abode of the spirits of good and bad om. The community also once lived in an age where the stones are considered as status, just as the crown gives to the entitlement of the king. The specific period of how and when the idea of using this stone as a sign of social lives and the social status cannot be ascertained. But when interviewing during my field work, I have interacted with one of the elders. He confidently confided, saying that if we save our glory and stories in a wooden piece, the mites will rot it down, and if we save it on the leaves, the wind will blow it away. If we save it on the ground, we will trample it with our footprint. What can be more sturdy and lasting than the stone? That's what he has. The elder, one of the elder whom I have interviewed, he have reason out as to why we have used the stone, as a monolith, as an entitlement. Monoliths of the past are not just in exhibitions, but inextricably linked with the social lives and the story of the people, especially in an oral community like the Chakhesangs. We also act as a living storehouse in transmitting the collective memory of the community. Some of them, when we go through it, people also believe that the spirit dwells in some of the stones. So whatever entitlement it be, they dread to bring inside the village, lest it will bring cursed or ill-fated luck to the villagers. So this is why one of the reasons as to why we don't find any of the monoliths or dolmen or any kind of this stones that's been erected. We don't see it inside the village, within the jurisdiction of the village, but it is always at the outskirts of the village. The people differentiate the stone as living or death, or man or women, and sometimes even talk to them as though the stone can hear them. And after coming across the gravestones scattered on the outskirts of the village, Hermindov accounted in one of his account, he said that, quote, "On many of these graves there are tales of the deeds of the departed, large stones to represent the woman whose favors she enjoys in this life." When one look over different menhirs and dolmen, we can also recognize them into entitlement stone, war stone, also memorial stone, and also a ceremony stone. So some of the stone, we also find some of the stone reminding the community about the warfare and the headhunting in the past, stories of the legends or of great warriors, and that has been passed down from one generation to another generations through the reminders of the stone. Ma'am, can you please show the next picture? Yeah, this is the picture. The dolmen that's still, it has broken down, but this is believed to be the dolmen that is still at Kejakanu village under Chakhesang. It's one of the Chakhesang village where this dolmen is believed to have a magical stone. It's a magical stone where it's believed to reproduce the double fold of whatever is being placed on this dolmen. So although it's broken, and this is a very stone, the reason as to why it's broken is, and also because of some the clashes of the brothers, they were fighting to who should put his paddy first on this very stone as the take turns. But then, since they have missed out and they got confused as to whose turn it should be to place the paddy on this dolmen, on this stone, because of that, the quarrel erupted and it has gone to worse that they have dispersed as the stone break away. They have dispersed, and this is the very place where many of the Naga tribes is believed to have migrated out from this village because of after the stone has broken down. And also the next picture, we also see that this is the spiritual stones believed to be the work wonders of the two spiritual lady, Matul and Camilla, this is known as Trudubo or Tsudubo. It's in the Tsifime village. This is also another Chakhesang village. It's believed that this two spiritual lady, the woman, they have placed the stone that is there on top as a roof. They have carried that stone and placed it on that. And it is still believed to this day that if you cook if you cook for 10%, still then it multiplies and it can be eaten by more than 50 people. That's what it still believes, and people still believe that, and the belief still continues. And the next slide we find here is the picture of a warrior's, the spear cut mark of a warrior. You can see the deep line that's been cut across the stone. This is the cut. As and when he takes off the head of the enemies, he make lines. The warriors Niho and Mushio, they make lines to this on top of these stones. And as do you see that the marks of the stone? All those marks are the count of the heads that they have taken. So this also remains, and like I've said, all the stones, the monoliths and the dolmens and the menhirs always has a history and the story to talk about the community. The community also practices in erecting monolith for the Feast of Marys as well. So each stone that stood the test of time and survived today has become the chief information about the community's past glory, about the myths, about the legends, and about the supernatural tales. And the community now preserves and retains its past through folk songs, folk tales, proverbs, riddles, arts, and crafts. Some of the stories also associated with the monoliths are forgotten and lost because the unavailability of the written records. So there are lots of monoliths and lots of stones they're just braving the harsh weather and they are still standing without any informations because we have lost many of those and because it's not being documented and it has lost over the years. The stories and the oral narrations that's been passed down we have lost over the years. But still some of the stones, the monoliths, the menhirs, some of them that are standing by the outskirts of the village, they still continue to tell the stories to the younger generations. When we talk about the material cultures, we also have the motifs and the narrative discourse behind the traditional dresses or the traditional attires that we put on. So it is impossible in the context of the Chakhesang community to separate some material cultures from the oral traditions because they bears the narrative discourse and carries the lores of the history of the people as well. We find there's a massive filterizations that has taken place where traditional practices and cultures that are not acceptable to the new beliefs some of them are being filtered and discarded. with a new word, the so-called we have as embraced, everything has been Christianized, and that is, and sometimes because of that, there are lots of changes that has taken place, lots of things that have been discarded, the tradition that has been discarded in order to suit the changing nature of time and situations. So with this newly invented orature, we find most of them are based on the Christian ideologies and Christian biblical contexts. And that is why I find it that there's a need to identify it in order to protect the orature that is still surviving through time and space in a community, so that it does not, again, filter, it does not get synchronized too much with the Christian context, the biblical context, especially when we talk about the folk tales and also about the origins and migration as well. We find there's also there is an interplay between orature and print as we talk about the oral traditions. It focuses on how the role of print transmit the lore or the community acceptance, and how the survival of the orature within the change of time and situation. The community also depends on the history of oral narration for so long that it has become difficult to keep the history or that preserve their history without relating to the oral narrations. So one finds the oral tradition still actively involved in the village despite the advancement of the modern world. When we also talk about, apart from talking about the monoliths, also talking about the material culture, we also, when we talk about the history or the past glories of the community, it is difficult not to, it is difficult to omit the headhunting culture of the Naga community, because that has always been one of the identity of the Naga culture as we, or the community identity as we talk about our past history as well. So how the headhunting is also an identity, and it constructs it and its significance in the community. How it also helped us to reconstruct our identity, or help us to take back to the past. This practice of headhunting is one of the factors that build up the community, the identity of the community. And when we talk about the identity, we refer to collectively the identity of the context of the Nagas, particularly the Chakhesang. So the origin of the headhunting, or how it started, is also very vague and problematic. Dilhul, also an old man in Lashmi, narrated that people get the idea of cutting off the heads through the end, as the man was watching as the warrior who was returning from his hunt, from the war. He was watching the ants fighting with each other. Similar narration has been narrated in Temsala Au's essay, Headhunting. She also have narrated that there was some warrior who was returning from the war, and he could not get any trophy. So what he decided to do was, he was just resting. He was all tired, exhausted, and he was resting under the tree. He noticed a group of ants who were frantically engaging in some combat, and with some other ants. So later he also saw that the victorious ant, he has systematically beheaded the other ant, the dead ones, and carried the heads away. So after seeing the craft, after seeing the strategy of the ant, the warrior also went back, cut off the head of his enemies, and carried home as the spoils of war. So that's how the idea of cutting off the head during the war, cutting off the head of the enemies during the war, has started. That's what that's a very vague, but still the belief, the community believes in that narration as well. There are also some other narrative as to why they have started cutting off cutting the heads during the war. Some narrates that a warrior who goes to war cannot prove that he cannot kill their enemies. So to prove that he really has killed the person or avenged the enemy on behalf of the villager, he takes the head as a proof and shows it to the villagers. So in the context of the Chakhesang community, when the warrior cannot carry many heads that he had killed, or when he cannot carry it because of the long, arduous journey he has to take to reach home, what he did is he usually cuts the ear of the people, and he kill and takes it home. So that also in the context of again from the Chakhesang, especially the Shokri speakers, they have two connotations when we talk about the head hunters and the head hunting. When it is literally that they call people who go to war as Pirimi, and the warriors who are brave enough to kill their opponent, they are called as Thirimavemi. So the understanding of killing has a different meaning in the context of the Chakhesang Naga. When a warrior killed his enemies from other village or killed his enemies during the war, it is considered to be as an act of bravery. And this is why we usually used to use the word killing the enemy during the war. It is considered as an act of bravery. That is why we call as Niga, which we call that. We don't usually call it not as Dotri. Now, again, but when a person is killed for personal reasons, not in a war, but for his personal reasons within the village, then we call it Dotri, which means murder. So when a warrior kills his enemies on the battlefield, people say, this person has Miga, which means he is killed. When we talk about Miga, M-I-G-A, then we are talking about courage and bravery. But when we are talking about a person who kills someone in the village for his personal reasons, we call it Dotri, which means it comes with moral values and judgment that is also attached its meaning to murder. So the concept of head hunting sometimes gets misinterpreted by both outsiders as well as the insiders. The outsiders fail to understand the concept of the head hunting and interpret it according to their understanding, which many, even the insiders have done it. And the word usually used to get associated head hunting as a primitive, and as the conception is already being built in people's mind. The community of the Nagas in general does not randomly go on killing any person they encounter, but just like as Temsula Au has put it, it is an institutionalized Naga way of life, where when they go to war, they have certain norms and rituals that people had to undergo, and only then there goes the war and head hunting. And the Chakhesang community has their way of taking heads and is embedded to their culture. However, this does not mean that they kill and cut off anyone's head whomever they meet. So the head hunting among the community happens only when they go to war with their enemies, or the two villages decided to fight in an open challenge to prove their prowess and supremacy between the two. The community does not discard the head of the enemy, but respects it when after the head hunting, after they brought the head, they place it carefully and took care of it until the enemy comes back to claim the head. So this is a process that returning the head to the deceased man is important, because the community also believes that the dead man cannot enter to the spirit realms without the head. So sometimes the women plays as a mediator between the two warring villages to bring the peace and claim back the head. So it is taboo to kill a woman who intermediates as a peacemaker between the two warring villages, especially in the rituals of returning the deceased man's head. Okay. Ma'am, can you please show us, there's another picture just next to the next picture. Okay, yeah, this is one of the still that has been kept in Lashmi village, where in between this stone, there's some space. So what they do is they place the head after they have taken the cut off the head. They place the head in between these two stones, and they keep it until the enemy comes back to claim the head. They have barred as grill. Actually, this is the outsiders and also even the women. They are not allowed to touch these stones. And so, although this prohibition and taboos with this the coming of the Christianity, we have already. It has already gone, but still, people still revert. So we still feel uncomfortable to go near the stone or touch the stone. So they have protected with the iron bars in this way. And when the enemy kills a woman or a child and took off the head, and the strength of the warrior guarding the village is questioned. So taking off the head shows the weakness of the warrior, where the enemy was able to penetrate the well-guarded village, overpowering all warriors that particular village and got the head of the guarded ones. But it is insulting that men's masculinity is questioned when an enemy penetrates and takes off the head of the fortified village. So also the head of Mutun or pig is given to the oldest man in the village or the chief priest to seek this blessing during the festival. So unlike the head of the animals hung of the house front porch as a symbol of trophy hunt, the Chakhesang never hang the enemy's head outside the house or displayed in the village. The head of the enemy helps the community establish strengths, engaging their lost honors by resorting to revenge. So what we do is we don't expose or we don't display the head of the enemies, but we hide it, knowing that it is also a wrong deeds that they have done. But they don't expose or they don't display it on the house. Unlike the head that they have taken, the Mitun's head or the animal's head that they have taken, they displayed it as a trophy outside their house. I've just have put up one of the pictures. If it's fine with you, can you please share the next picture? Okay. In the meantime, I'll just go ahead with the next presentation. So there is also regarding to material culture. We always have motifs behind the material culture. So there is always a story behind the shawls or the ornaments or the attires that we wear. So there is one of the shawls that's been put up as stinking nettle, that's made from stinking nettle, also known as Tevora. So this community, there's behind these shawls, behind these very stinking nettle shawls, there is a community's folk tales, and which is not just a tale of entertainment, but also has its social intricacies that store the community's knowledge, culture, tradition, and past. So the stinking nettle shows becomes the living embodiment of past, the construction of the community's identities as well. So the story talks about the origin of the stinking nettle shawl among the community and the knowledge of preparation from stinking nettle to the processed shawl. It contains the community traditional knowledge and the beauty of how people store this knowledge through folktales. No doubt one finds the magic or spirit involved in the tale, which invites questions of authenticity. However, one cannot ignore the real-life situations of communities and its traditional knowledge in learning to make shawls from a mere plant. So the folk tales of the stinking nettles gives critique to an old lady, Mazukeje, the lady responsible for procuring the knowledge of the spirit. It is believed that she has got this very knowledge of weaving the stinking nettle into a shawl from the tiger spirit. That's what the community usually used to talk about. And her skill of weaving and fame have reached the villagers, and later on she has passed down knowledge to her villagers, and that's how stinking nettle started. The idea of stinging nettle shawls have started in Leshmi village, which later on spread to the other part of the villages in Chakhesang. So when one looks at the tales about man and spirit relationship, we also find that man and spirit depart from each other towards the end of the stories. However, we see that there is always a relationship between man and spirit. This shows that the community believes in the spirit and acknowledges its involvement in their daily lives, but they also accept that man and spirit cannot live in their realms. If it is tabooed to bring stinging nettle plants to the house and prepare the yarn or weave before New Year, because they believe that and also it is also tabooed to throw the broken pieces of the thread to the kitchen fireplace, because they believe that it will become a stumbling block or bring back luck to the man in the house who goes to war, hunt, or even play games during the festivals. So as and when they prepare the stinging nettles, they never prepared inside the kitchen. Also, ma'am, can you please forward to the next slide of the picture? So this is why the processing of the stinging nettles into yarn is always done in the forest after the New Year, and it is tabooed probably because the knowledge of making shawls from stinging nettle is taught by the supernatural beings, and or probably the art is learned after a woman broke a taboo in a village. They still fear that the punishment will befall the village because the broker promised to bring back a person that they have cursed and promised never to let her enter the village again. So this is why there are some taboo, and to this day they don't prepare these stinging nettles yarn, be it yarn or whether they are weaving or doing pulling out the yarn. It is taboo. The people still fear to not to prepare it or to do it inside the kitchen. So they usually used to do it outside the house. Ma'am, can you please show the next slide? So this is how it's been prepared. It is all extracted out from the stinging nettle plants, and they dried it out. After drying out, they make it into a yarn, and this is how a woman is wearing the stinging nettle shawls and bags that's being prepared from the stinging nettle plant, and the stoles and the waistcoat which a boy is wearing. These are the stinging nettle plant that's been made from the stinging nettle plant. So again, the way towards the end, there is a folk literature where there is a paradigm shift from orature to print. And the non-literate community interactions with outside world slowly changes the mindset of the people. And with this, the community started to make entry in writing folk literature into print, which is, however, is still very young, and they are yet to set foot or to explore the whole of the printed world. The communities came in contact with the technological innovation. Slowly they started pacing up with the flow of advancing world. And as we go through, besides the written text of Chakhesang communities or Orature, or the community also have started venturing into the digital world through documentations and sharing it with the internet world, a bigger platform to sensitize the community's identity to the outside world. So there are some non-governmental organizations that has come up to have started the self-help group to project and help the community, especially the women, for self-sustenance, and also with an aim also to put the culture and traditions to a bigger platform. So there's non-governmental organizations that are dealing with a weaving project in assisting the community, especially the women, to produce the kind of weaving, and also shows different kind of platforms have introduced. And the community has not only that Northeast Network Agency, they have one of the non-governmental agency. They are also contributing benefits, immense benefits to the community to earn to let the women also earn their income. In the meanwhile, also promote the community's culture as well. There is also, as we go through, there is also an interplay between the print as well, between print and the orature. When we lots of there are lots of folk tales, folklores, or let's say the oral tradition that is yet to be documented, that is yet to be written down. But there are some parts of the folk tales and the folklores, that's the folk songs, that's some of the writers have started venturing, they have started writing, documenting it down in the print form. So there's a particular reference to a carnelian necklace. The necklace is initially extracted from the folk song of the Chakhesang community. There's a carnelian necklace story which has already been written down as a printed literary text. It is retold tale, and is initially extracted from the folk song of the Chakhesang community. So when talking about the origin of the folk song, many villages will come forth to claim the ownership of the folk song. However, with the nature of the folk song traveling from one place to another, one can conclude that this particular folk song originated from one village. So the folk tales, slowly with these folk tales came to be known as the carnelian necklace, which has been reprinted and retold and has been included in the Nagaland Board of School Education syllabus, followed by the documentations, which is also there. If you are interested, you can also see one of the lost carnelian necklace that is being directed by Veyo Omnis. It is there in YouTube as well. So they have put up as in the media as well as in a written form as well. So both the print and oral narrations have different versions of the story, suiting to the situation, needs, and demands, yet all of them are contributing to the transmitting of communities' oral traditions and indigenous knowledge to the younger generations. So in one of the folk tales, originally this carnelian necklace is a story that has been told through folk song, and later on it has been written in a form of a folk tales, retold tales through from the syllabus of which has been included in the syllabus of Nagaland Board's school education, and again it has been documented and through YouTube. They have put up in this through YouTube, and that's how they're trying to promote how the print and the orature are coming into one platform, and they're trying to these two plays an important role in promoting the culture and identity of the community. So this, although when we compare that the print, the folk tales that's been retold in the print cannot be same. It cannot be as original as the stories that's been narrated. But still, that's how somehow it has helped us to document our past folk, our oral traditions through print as well. So this the next slide, man, can you please send the next slide? There's one picture. I just want to show the last picture. So as when we talk about the print and the interplay of the print and the orature, despite this, there's always variations even within the oral narratives and also the documentary films and also the print which they have retold through the written text. But it is not possible to there will always be the variations within the narrative discourse, but still in all this platform, it promotes the community's orature and oral narratives and prints. More as they are like two sides of the coin. One can do without each other, and the community needs to promote and record their culture and identity. That this is one of the carnelian necklace which I'm talking about. The carnelian necklace, this is the necklace, the story of this necklace where only the rich people are able to wear this kind of necklace, and this is only worn by the unmarried girls, young girls, and it is not once a girl gets married, she cannot re-wear this necklace again. Her necklace will be changed. There will be a different kind of necklace that she has to wear, but this is the necklace which the story, the carnelian necklace, which we talk about. This very carnelian necklace is something the stories talks about the girl, the little girl, the orphan, the young girl who was orphaned at a very young age and whose mother died at a very young age, and she lived with her stepmother. Because of this, as she lives with her stepmother, she is being mistreated by her mother. So because of when she requested to wear the necklace one day to hang out with her friends, she had lost the carnelian necklace. She lost the necklace which she asked from her mother. So as she was scared to come back home because stepmother was scold her. Because of that reason, she went back to the pond where her necklace had fallen down, and she requested the spirit of the pond and requesting him, the spirit, to take her in exchange of the necklace. And the very next moment, right after she had given her word, her necklace sprung up to her, and she returns back. She took the necklace, gives it back to her stepmother, but true to her promise, she died just before she make her entry to her house. So that very story narratives that has been talked about in the folk song and also in the folk tales, the folk songs which I have translated. I just want to read one folk song, then I'll conclude it. We Jitini here talk about the group of young girls who sleeps together. So we had gone to a place called Rizal to cut firewood. Fateful was the day when my necklace fell off, and I had to convey the loss to my mother and father, only to be ridiculed for my craftiness, not by my deception. God forbid. I swear, as I stand by the pond early morning with my supplications, Spirit, if you are powerful, take my body and return my necklace. Once the words were spoken, it immediately sprung to my head, and there I took and placed it in my mother's hand, fulfilled the wish of my father and mother, but it must have been disappointed by my grieving brother. So there is a very tales that's been told, and also that again it's been written in the as a retold tales of tales. The variations of the culture around the world leads to the variation in interpretation of folklore as well. So an oral community that does not have a script, the community relies on storing the record of the culture. The authentications and validations of oral traditions are not possible as it depends on the community's acceptance rather than proven scientifically. It is also not possible to validate or authenticate that one narration is genuine and the other narration are false instead of respecting the community's sentiment. So there's always a paradigm shift from orature to print, and it also helps the community to a bigger platform in recording their history besides oral narrations. And still, the community rely on folk songs and folk tales that are still inclined more towards on oral transmissions rather than depending on the printed means. And oral traditions of the community does not just exist for entertainment, but it is their everything, their culture, their history, and their identity. The transitional nature of orature undergoes different phases like pre-colonial, colonial, and the modern phase. The tradition of the community have not shifted completely to literacy and urban when also in a community like Chakhesang, both orature and print are necessary for recording the oral traditions. They coexist side by side without disturbing each other. What orature cannot fulfill, print fulfills it. And what print cannot cover up, orature covers it up. In conclusion, we see that there is a nature of active oral traditions in the community, especially in the villages. Only one can only conclude that orature and print go side by side in their own approach, yet and necessary one, and helps in recording as well as the transmission of oral tradition for the future generations. And the Chakhesang community still have a lot of unwritten folktales, folk songs, myths, and legends that has been transmitted down by word of mouth. So the writers from the community are making efforts to re-observe oral tradition through print, which will eventually help the people to record their history in written form, at the same time create the continuity of the past to the present and the present to the past to build the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Setolu, for your insightful presentation on the interplay of orature and print in the context of Chakhesang Nagas. Your discussion, I would say, that has actually provided a profound understanding of how oral traditions deeply embedded in the cultural and communal practices of the tribe and the people, of course, and how they are also preserved and transformed through the medium of print, and how you highlighted how actually these oral traditions serve as a repository of history, values, identity, culture, and also pointing out the challenges of transitioning these dynamic and performative narratives into one fixed textual form. So, and of course, highlighting the need to retain the cultural authenticity. It was particularly very fascinating to hear about the role of modern technology here in bridging or further complicating this interplay, I would say, and how these shifts are perceived by the younger generations. Your insights into the challenges of translation and preservation, as well as the possibility for integrating oral and print traditions in education and cultural discourse, offered valuable directions for future work in this area. So thank you once again for shedding light on this intricate relationship and its broader implications for the indigenous knowledge system. We can have questions from the audience now. Okay. Maybe yes, so we have question from Dr. Mandvi. You can.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
So first of all, I would like to congratulate Dr. Setolu because it was a wonderful presentation and really insightful. And I would like to ask one question. So my question to you, Dr. Setolu, is that how do oral traditions, when written down, contribute to larger discourses on indigenous knowledge systems in global literature? Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the question. Mandvi, actually, Dr. Mandvi is also my junior. We had a good time.
Setolu,
the problem with the work. So there's when we talk about oral traditions or orature that's being documented in a printed form. Actually, it gives a better discourse, a larger discourse, a larger platform for when it's written down. It gives a bigger platform to the outsiders or to the outside world to know about the community that is still thriving with the limited knowledge, limited materials of the community, especially, and still, I honestly say that we don't have much of this written records, documented one, or any kind of literary text or retold tale of the community. So we don't have much of that as of now. So if it's been documented, if the discourse that's done in the printed form, then it will definitely bring this very community about the community to this very bigger platform, and it will introduce the community to the outside as well.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Setolu. We have one question from Shruti Krishnadas. the question, I'm reading the question. You discussed both tangible and intangible aspects as storehouses of social and cultural memory, including physical artifacts like stones, megaliths, as well as cultural narratives, tales, and rituals. In your view, what elements should be prioritized for preservation or propagation to ensure the Chakhesang Naga community's identity remains intact and not erased?
Thank you, Shruti. This is a very important question. And actually, this is also very vulnerable now because of us. Since we have been introduced, we are also the hybridization of culture. Each and every one of us know that there is a hybridization of culture. So I would say that with this, when we talk about preservation, it's becoming quite difficult to preserve the culture. What we can do is we also recall the tradition, like through this material aspects, which still using the traditional dresses, the attires, and also especially the monoliths, which we cannot give it up because especially the monoliths and the stones, the menhirs and the dolmens that we still have, these have become a living tales of the past history. So this is one of the lots of the people, the youngsters, they are also trying their best, trying to preserve, trying their best to again preserve those monoliths so that it carries on and the stories of each and every stones we are trying young researchers have started documenting the stories that's behind the monoliths, the stones, and also the we have started there's one association called Chakhesang Mothers Associations who have all started documenting course behind each and every ornament so that the younger generations does not lose track of the tales or the lore of the community. So that's what we are trying to do.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Do we have any other question?
Am I audible?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you for the presentation, ma'am. I'd like to ask a question that is, you mentioned that filterization has occurred with many aspects of the tradition being Christianized. And I consider beyond the community, your research to be one significant effort in preserving and understanding this tradition. But how does the Chakhesang community as a whole respond to this transformation? Are there any visible efforts within the community to reconcile or resist these changes?
Ma'am, can you please repeat the questions? I don't know, it's from my side or from your side. I'm not able to just get the questions, maybe because of the network.
Maybe, ma'am, if you can type the question and she can read it. I guess it's because of the network issue that she's not able to hear it.
Okay, I can hear from you. Can you please, if it's clear to you, then can you please repeat our questions?
So the question is in the chat box. Maybe you can read it if it's not audible to you, and then answer it.
Oh yeah, this is also one of the tricky questions. I always get the questions regarding to these Christianized with the Christianity after we embraced the Christianity. Actually, yes, we are trying to also. I also trying to go back, revive back as whatever possible way. Even if like I have talked about the interplay between the oral and the print form. There is also an interplay between the tradition and the religion as well, I should say. There is some, of course, there are lots of practices that's been discarded, but still there are also some practices which has been there is some practices that has been changed over the years and which has been evolved, I should say, that have been evolved over the years and they are still thriving and surviving in the practices of Christianity. For example, I would like to cite one example when during the death, during the funeral rites and rituals, the Christianity believes that there's an afterlife, but we don't believe that that we need to take the materials or the personal belongings to the next life. But still, even after the embrace of Christianity, we still believe that we need to get. I mean, we need to take away all our personal belongings, whatever that, especially the belongings that is closest to the heart of the deceased. So we have to. We usually used to bury it along with the dead. So these kind of practices, we still have there is some this interplay between this. We are also embracing Christianity simultaneously. There's traits that's been evolved along with our transition, and we are still practicing some of them. And also, again, one of the examples, we still believe in that kind of feast of merits, which has been practices by the over the years by our ancestors. We still have this feast of merits, although it is not celebrated in a Christianized way. So there are some visible efforts. Yes, when we talk about this, there are some visible efforts that the young researchers and research scholars that are trying to revive back, trying to also document things that we are lost and which are also still. We are still practicing at this moment. So I can say that although it's impossible to revive back the traditions and the practices that we have discarded, it's becoming difficult. But whatever is still surviving, we are trying to get hold of it and try to document it in a way and practice as well.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other question?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Okay. It was such a wonderful and insightful presentation, Dr. Setolu. I would like to know how this new entry from orality to print, how is it being taken up by the Naga community? Is there a huge resistance for bringing print and also TV and all that? Or is it that they are accustomed to it?
Again, ma'am, can you please repeat the question? I'm not able to.
My question is that how do the community as such take up this sort of transformation from orality to print and to
Can you please type it? Can you please type it in the chat?
Like we have, even in our cultures, we have this sort of a moral fear against the new technologies. Like people say that it's bad to watch TV during the last generation. These days, people say that it's bad to play video games or to participate in.
There is another question in the group which says that there are many wrong perceptions about Chakhesang community, which is far-fetched from reality among the outside world. If there are any, can you please tell us any that you know of?
Definitely. See, we're still at the beginner stage. So there are lots of things that's been misinterpreted about us as well, because no one have written about us. We have not written about ourselves, and we have not put it to the bigger platform. So maybe that is one of the reasons people are ignorant about us. So there sometimes we get a lot of not only about the Chakhesang Nagas, but also about the Naga community as a whole. That people still ask whether we still have these headhunting practices, whether they're still warrior, and whether if we go to the community within the interior parts of the community, the villages, whether they will cut off the heads, whether they will be killed. So these kind of misinterpretations are always there among the community, among the outsiders, and they still dread. They have this kind of assumptions that if they come to the interior parts of the Nagas or among the even the interior parts of the Nagas, then that they will be killed. So this kind of primitive thoughts that they still have, and I often sometimes I get this kind of questions that whether there are still headhunters in my community.
Okay, all right. Thank you. The next question is, how do the Naga community generally take the change from orality to print and to visual media?
Yeah, I would honestly say that among the generations, there are different generations. There are different people regarding to this. The acceptance of the print, changing from orality to print. The younger generations, especially the younger generations, they are more interested in reaching out and talking about. The changes that is happening in print, whether in the text or in the social media. They are drawn towards that, while the older generations, they still refuse to. I should not use the word refuse, but they prefer using the oral narrations, the oral narratives discourse, the orature, rather than the print and the visual media. So there are two categories where the older generations, especially if you go to the village, you will still find them talking about sitting around the hearth or sitting around the fireplace, talking about the communities, about the stories, about the lore, about the past, rather than relying on the written form. While the younger generations, you won't find these days that the younger generations that have withdrawn themselves away from just sitting around the hearth, because they are more drawn towards the mobile phone and the internet. So they prefer taking information or accessing information from the print and the visual media. So there are two categories of people. One, they are still declining towards, still depending on the orature, while the other are now drawing towards themselves to print and visual, the medias as well.
Ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, even if I unmute, sometimes I'm not audible, I think. Anyway, I hope now I am.
Yes, ma'am, clearly.
Setolu. And Dr. Preeti, you too, you have managed moderation so well. And it is a very insightful sort of talk for us, because we are learning about an entirely different way of living, a different way of understanding how orality is changed to other forms. And here too, we all communities have these difficulties. When we change from orality to visual media to print, any change is always seen with a sort of a fear, a sort of insecurity. And it is interesting to talk about all these things and about print cultures. And again, there are other concepts like how the print culture brings about the concept of a nation, what Benedict Anderson had talked about, and now how visual cultures are actually changing that concept of a nation into some different communities, different international communities maybe. All these things should be thought about and should be deliberated and discussed further. So we are, on behalf of St. Aloysius College Research Center, we are extremely thankful to you for having accepted our invitation and for the formal Thanksgiving. Okay, I invite the persons concerned. Nima, will you invite the person?
Thank you, ma'am.
Formal Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Preeti ma'am, and thank you, Setolu, for your wonderful presentation. And for the participants, there is a feedback link posted in the chat box. Please do submit it to generate your e-certificates. Now I request Ms. Meera, research scholar at St. Aloysius, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Nima. Good evening, everyone. I take this opportunity to first of all thank Dr. Setolu, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Northeastern Hill University, Shillong, for delivering such an encapturing lecture on very new topic, which is really new for us, exploring the interplay of orature and print oral traditions of the Chakhesang Nagas. Thank you, ma'am, for your time and for delivering us with such a new knowledge about the community. Thank you once again. And the moderator of today's session was Dr. Preeti Kalra, Assistant Professor, Department of English and Cultural Studies, Christ, deemed to be University. Thank you, ma'am, for coordinating the lecture and the queries related with it with great precision. Thank you for your time. Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the audience for your patience and vigor for acquiring new knowledge and continuously making your presence in the platform of Chrysalis. Actually, your presence makes this session of Chrysalis enlightening and lively. Thank you so much. And thank you, Dr. Betsy Policy, our dearest Betsy ma'am, for giving us this opportunity to bring in a continual academic growth in all of us. Thank you, ma'am, for staying as a strong pillar of support for us as always. Now, this is a very great platform, the platform of Chrysalis, because it gives us the opportunity to connect and interact with scholars and like-minded people, and in enhancing our understanding of academic advancements which is happening all around us. So thanks to the entire Research and PG Department of English, St. Aloysius College, Elthurud, Thrissur, for this continuing initiative of Chrysalis. And thanks to all the authorities behind this program, and especially the team of research scholars who are into this continuous process of coordinating the program of Chrysalis. Thank you once again to everyone for making this session very enlightening and capturing as always. Thank you and good night to everyone.
So thank you, Meera. So once again, on behalf of St. Aloysius College and Chrysalis team, I thank everyone for your valuable time and cooperation. So see you soon in an upcoming sessions. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Just say one word of appreciation to our research scholars. Ms. Nima, the one who compared here, then Ms. Hridya, whom you might have seen as asking question, and then Ms. Suddhi, Ms. Atulya, and Ms. Reshma. And Ms. Meera was always with us. Okay, thank you all a lot.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, participants. Once, bye. See you next month, second Thursday. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a good night.